Hello everyone and welcome to the first bonus post-game episode of Moonscars. As I promised in one of the previous videos, from now on, after finishing a Let's Play, I will do a post-game, sort of a mini review episode, because I think it's worth it. And a few disclaimers, let me just check if I'm recording. Yes, I am. First off, I'm gonna try and load or show you me playing in the background, just because, well, it could be helpful to show you a couple of things that I'm talking about, or maybe just some background to, well, maybe, I don't know, help you concentrate, or just to have something that I'm talking about. So you're not only listening to me, so you can look at something when I'm talking about, so you're not only listening to me, but there is also something to do. Oh, okay, someone murdered someone here. This is actually new. Yep. Farewell. Probably Yarema killed her, or something. I don't know. Just my guess. So, a few disclaimers before we start. First things first, as it is, well, my review, it will definitely be a little bit subjective. I mean, it's kind of hard to do a fully objective review, I think. I mean, because, well, we like different things. We like playing different games, we have different backgrounds, and we have different experience in playing games. So, this may be, well, someone's one of the better games of the year for them, and for someone else, this game could be one of the worst he played. So, yeah, there's a whole spectrum here. And I think that's something to be respected. I mean, well, different tastes, you know? So, that's one thing. The other thing is, this is a first review that I do, so it definitely will not be top-notch. Things could get better, and I will try. As with everything, we will grow with experience, so keep that in mind. Suggestions are welcomed. So, is there anything else I would want to say? Oh yeah, and one thing that I thought just now, before doing this, I think it is important to, I don't know, to not present it, not say it, I mean to maybe, yeah, maybe say something like that, that all the games that I'm playing on this channel are games that I have bought by myself, with my own money, and I play them in my own time. So no one's paying me for this review, no one's making me say good things, and no one's making me say bad things about stuff. So I guess it's a good thing to keep in mind. And now, I guess we should start. So first things first, as you can see, this is a... Oh yeah, one more thing, sorry, before we start, the most important thing I forgot. I will try to do this sort of review style video without spoilers. Even though it's after a full Let's Play, some people, well, probably could have seen the whole Let's Play. Some people maybe weren't interested in watching me play it, and some people maybe watched a few episodes and said, well, this looks like something for me, I will not spoil myself, I will just watch 1, 2, and see if it's something I like, and then I will play it. Yep. Okay, so this doesn't destroy the wall. Interesting. So yeah. Now, going back to the review. Let's start. As it is apparent, this is a 2D Metroidvania style game. So, and it has, as you saw, some sort of a roguelite element to it, in form of the spite. Can I show you this? The spite bonuses. Oh, I don't have any mouse cursor. As you can see on the character info, on the left side, we have spite bonuses. Spite is actually that roguelite element. But I will get to that when we talk about the mechanics. First was the introduction. So, it kind of looks like your typical Metroidvania game. And throughout the review, and throughout my Let's Play, you probably noticed that I said this reminds me of Blasphemous, the first one. So I will probably during this review compare them. I will compare it also to other games, but the comparison to Blasphemous is the most obvious one. So there's that. Continuing on the first thing. The first thing, I maybe will give a little bit of a basic overview. So, yeah, well, we're playing Irma here, and as the introduction said, she's basically a Claiborne warrior, but not a normal one, no, she's one of the so-called Pristines, which are a separate group, and more on that a little bit later. From the start of the game, what we know is that Irma wants to meet her creator, the sculptor. And this is where our journey begins. So we fight through, as you saw, other Claiborne, other clay puppets, I could say. And we do a little bit of platforming here and there. We also fight some bosses, we get abilities, we get additional weapons, special weapons that we can use. And yeah, our main goal here is to get Irma to the sculptor. Very basic combat here. We can attack with our sword, we can dodge, we can block, we can parry, as you see. So yeah, that's that. More on that in depth in the other section that's coming on. So, each time we die, we get resurrected at a checkpoint, which is the last save point we used. So that's handy. What else? Yes, when we die, we lose the spite bonuses that we get. So that's the roguelite elements. And we also acquire bone powder, which we can use in shops to buy amulets or amulet stones, and learn spells. As you can see, we have a separate witchery skill tree, which is kind of nice. More on that later. And we also acquire glands, which can be used in rituals and stuff like that. So more on that also later. And that's basically the summary and the most basic information about the game. And first things first, I also checked what people on the internet say about things about this game. Say things about this game, I want to say. And I saw some Steam reviews, I saw some GOG reviews. I went to the wiki to see some maybe summarized information and stuff like that and check if people have something to say. And I am surprised about some things. So let's begin with some of the wiki information. So the wiki says, and I will link the wiki below in the description, that Metacritic, if you don't know, Metacritic is a review aggregator site, and the PC was generally favorable. It was okay, got an okay reviews, and unfortunately the PS5 and the Switch version, not so much. And the reviews were mixed there, and yeah, they tended toward mixed or average, depending on when you've checked. Don't know why, maybe those versions have some problems in them, that we didn't have in the PC version. I will talk about problems also later. So, according to Metacritic for PS5 and for Switch, yeah, that was mixed or average. And according to the Nintendo World Report, this game got, I don't know, I think that's a magazine? Yeah, there was a review by a Miller Zachary, and he gave the game a 5 out of 10. He praised its art style and the options in combat, but criticized a high level of difficulty and rarity of the gland items. First I will go through all that information that I gathered, and then I'll say what I think about it. So, well, next thing is Rock Paper Shotgun. They also praised the art style and compared the game to Castlevania, but they didn't like some of the mechanics here that increased the difficulty. And also, what do we have? There's Nintendo Life, who said that this game reminded them of Dead Cells, and liked how this deviated from other Souls-like games with its combat. But they also find the difficulty to be problematic. I First thing, I don't know if I would say Souls-like. Definitely inspired by some stuff from Souls games, but I don't know if I would call this game a Souls-like. So, continuing on, that's all from the wiki. Now, something that I gathered from the reviews, I remember that from the top of my head, because most of them were the same. People tended to praise the art style also. Well, most people. Some people didn't like the monochrome, gloomy look of every area. This is something that you need to get used to. Every area is kind of monochrome like this. There are some shades of grey, some shades of yellow, depending on the area here. We mainly see in this where I am now, shades of, well, grey, white and black. But if we go to, not earth bowels, let's say we go to the depths. Well, more grey, but also hints of yellow and dark brownish, maybe on some elements. So yeah, you gotta get used to that look. There's not much variety. Don't expect many vibrant colors. So something to keep in mind if that's important to you. So that's one thing that the people were mixed on. The other thing is, and it was frequently pointed out, the difficulty. And here's where I have the problem. Aside from my 2 stupid days, as I call them, and you can see that in the Let's Play, I only have trouble with one boss. And he was the second boss, I think? Yeah, and that's because I had a really not a good day when fighting him. And it showed. It was stupid mistakes, and I failed on my own. But when we pushed forward, on the late game bosses, I didn't die even once. There was one other boss that I retried a couple of times, and that was due to him having quite cool area attacks that you needed to learn to dodge. So there's also that, and it was not frustrating, it wasn't much retrying. The first one, maybe it was about 10 times or more, but the second one that I have trouble with was, what, 5 times or 6, and that's really minuscule compared to when I played, for example, Dead Cells, and we tried the heroic bosses. So, yeah. I do not agree with the high difficulty reviews. Definitely do not agree with them. And I would actually say the opposite. If you are someone who seeks a challenge, I don't think this is a good game for you, honestly. You can't replay boss fights, you can't trigger additional harder boss fights like you could in Dead Cells. We haven't found a super boss. I checked the achievements, because we are missing, I think, only 4, and there was not any achievement for a super boss or a hidden boss. So, yeah, in general, if you like high difficulty fights, this game is not for you. But if you tend to not, if this is not your cup of tea, then I think this is doable. Yeah, it's highly doable for you if you like Metroidvania games, but shown the high difficulty some have. Also, the difficulty, coming back to the difficulty, I would actually go a step further and say you need to separate 2 things when talking about difficulty. I would say that you need to differentiate between fight difficulty here and platforming difficulty. And for some people who like hard platforming sections, like there were in, for example, Hollow Knight, well, you frequently needed to slash your sword down, your nail down, and bounce off thorns and other stuff, and dash, and do well with timing, and etc. You won't find that here. The platforming sections are very basic, they are not hard, and if you're seeking a challenge in platforming, this is not that sort of a game. But if you have trouble with that, due to, I don't know, maybe health problems with your hands, or maybe you're just not so good or not keen on platforming, but like those types of games, yeah, this would work for you, this would work. So, likewise, the fighting, if you are in for hard fights, tactics, and weird different matchups, also not for you. No, this is not that hard of a game, in contrast what people say. So, well, I don't think they're malicious or anything. Maybe this is someone's first Metroidvania game, or maybe they played one of the easier ones out there. So maybe that's why they gave that type of a review. All in all, I think it's not that hard of a game. If you want challenging combat, please try, for example, Dev's Gambit, which we tried on this channel, which I played on this channel and finished. And those are some quite nice fights. Do I remember anything else from the reviews? No, I don't think there was many. Yes, there was some complaints about the mechanics. And we'll get to that right now. No, first off, we'll get back to the story. So, yeah. Now we're leaving the reviews. Maybe I'll go back to them when discussing my particular feelings about some mechanisms or some parts. So the next part of this mini review will be the story part. So, yeah, we get an introduction about what's happening with the world, about the Claiborne. The introduction is quite mysterious. It's the sculptor talking with his cat, saying stuff about the Claiborne, about the Pristines, which generally we don't have much information since we barely started. And this is something the game likes to do. It trickles information to you. You don't have a lot of exposition at first. Most part of the game, it's actually quite scarce. So you're constantly walking and like, so what are they? Who are they? And what happened then? And why is Irma talking about some stuff? So yeah, that's for the first half or so. And then something weird happens. Basically, then we find NPCs, which we need to do quests for them, and if we do, we can talk to them. And the exposition then keeps coming, and we get more and more information, and then we can easily piece out what happened, and who is who, and honestly, I was expecting quite a lot of things, and I tried to think about what the NPC said and who's who and what's what, and we basically guessed quite a lot, and it was a good guess. So it's not like it's very cryptic, it's not like Dark Souls, even though I have a hunch it actually tried to trickle information a little bit Dark Souls style, like in descriptions or in NPCs that don't want to say outright what they know, and they do have a knowledge of the world and events, but for some reason, the player needs to know, or it is good for the player to know what's happening in the world, so they needed to tell you that, and, well, if you're not done the quests, if you're not doing all the quests that you find, you could be surprised at the end, about more than halfway through, quarter left, I think, you would get an exposition that would surprise you, I guess. Yeah, so be sure to do the quests. Generally, what can I say? Well, from the beginning, we have Irma, and we know that she is a Pristine, member of the Pristines, which are sort of a better version of the Claibornes, to not spoil anything. And from the introduction we know that there was a team of them, and they had then they were on a quest. But something happened then. And we meet with Irma, who's our main hero, and she needs to find out what happened, what's going on, and meet the sculptor, so that he can answer some of her questions, what's going on here. As you can see, Irma wields a sword, which has a basic combo like this. So from the story elements we'll go to the gameplay mechanics. This is your basic sword combo. You can hold your attack button to do a charge slash. It's a little bit slower, you can get punished while doing it, but the main bonus of it is pushing enemies, and you can push them on spikes, like these ones. Pushing enemies on spikes basically kills them outright. There are some enemies who will not be killed outright by the spikes. And those would be enemies with the shields, which you need to break using magic attacks. So that's one thing. I would like to demonstrate the charge attack to you, but I need to find an enemy here. And as you saw in the background... Oh, now, see? You can also equip talismans that heighten the what's the word I'm looking for? Not length, but the distance you push the enemies. Yeah. So be sure to remember about that, and be sure to use that, as this is quite a thing in battles. It can make your harder battles quite easier when you take care of 2-3 enemies at once by pushing them into the spikes. The other mechanism is blocking. Irma can block, and if you do that in the right moment, you can get a parry. See? Like this. And you can only parry, as you saw, the red attacks. If I try to parry a blue attack or block a blue attack, I get damage, as blue signifies it's unblockable. And the game does a good job at signifying which attacks you can block, which you can't. It actually does a pretty good job here, showing you that. So, praises for the game here. Aside from that, we also get 2 more abilities to use, you could say, during fights. First off, we have this. Pressing triangle on my gamepad makes me use the special weapon that I have currently equipped. And right now it's a... Can we check the name of it? Yes, the special attack. It's Whirlwind. You can only have one special weapon equipped at any time on Irma. And you get a pick after boss battles. So, and you also get additional bonuses when you pick those. But also, if you're not happy with your current one, you can get to the mirror. You can pick a weapon right. And using glance, you can alter your special weapons. I will show you right now. See? I paid 3 glance. And I can pick between 3 choices. And this is one of the things that people also reacted negatively upon in reviews, because you only have 1 slot for special weapons, and they did not like it. As for me, I will say a few things about this. First things first. Having 1 slot for the special attacks does not bother me in any way, because if you are Castlevania players like me, you do remember we always got 1 special weapon in Castlevania series. We either had the knife, which we can throw, we either had the cross, the holy water, the axe, you know, the stopwatch. So having 1 of them, it's not particularly bad for me. It's not something that I would say it's a minus. Although, there is one thing that I would say it's a minus. And that's the weapons themselves. Some of them are strong, some of them are clearly better than others, but I did not use them much. And before I say why, I'll just point out one thing. Look below the descriptions, you see bonuses. Some slots provide bonuses. Additionally to what the weapon does, they do provide bonuses, like bonus health, bonus ichor, or the third option always has non-bonus. The weapons, besides doing damage, also do status effects like bleeding, piercing, and hexing. So, returning to this. Let's pick the harpoon. So, returning to the special weapons. Honestly, my biggest gripe with the special weapons, as you can see now when I'm using it, is the big, not downtime, but the charge time between using it and actually the weapon working, like slashing or doing damage. You have a long wind-up time, which can get you severely punished during fights. One could say that this is a good element because it promotes strategic usage of the weapon. The weapon is not overpowered then, and you gotta use your head before you use the weapon. I would agree here, but I think it actually makes most of the weapons highly unusable. See how much downtime it is. I would basically kill him in the same time using my basic sword attack. And why would I use a special weapon then if my basic sword attack does more damage in the same time? Because of that wind-up. That's one thing. Some of them, like I said, are clearly better than others. The harpoon, which I have here, is one of the only special weapons that I used frequently when I had it. As you can stay from a safer distance, the enemy could be on the right side of the screen, not going for me yet. Then I would do the charge. This is not a good place to use that. You can use a charge and see half a screen of reach. And then I could slash him with that and be safe and can still run away, you know? You can dash cancel out of it, but you could get punished for that. So, and you can turn around here with this weapon, but the other weapons actually some are worse. The gauntlets that we had one time, those have enormous wind-up time, and in fights, really not usable. Really not usable. At least in a straight-up fight when you're jumped by a couple of enemies and need to do something. Yeah. So that's that. We also have Irma has the dash. This is something I'm kind of confused though, because you push the dash, Irma dashes, but you tap the dash, she jumps. This is by design, and I do not know why, because of that we've died a couple of times, because she can get hit quite painfully during that. You have a sort of a cooldown between one dash and the other dash. I guess it's not to spam it. But I don't understand why is the jump there. I have a separate jump button, and if I push the jump after the dashing, I get the same thing that I do while tapping the dash button. So why not let me jump on my own volition? Why do it in the dash button? I do not know why. And it's hard to not do if you're used to chain dashing or doing dashes like in Castlevania to just cross the distance quicker. So yeah, there's that. It's pretty weird. And it's not the only thing that got me confused, but about that a bit later. So yeah, that's basically the combat. As you saw, we have various amulet stones, and one of them, when I died, actually disappeared, because the better ones, as you can see here in the description, they are usable to only when you... Let me rephrase that. When you equip one, you actually have it till you die. There is a special description about that. When you die, the item basically disappears. So that's another, I guess, roguelite element here. And that's a little bit more painful than the spite bonuses that we've lost. The spite bonuses can be recovered quite quickly. When you beat enemies. There doesn't take much enemies to beat to get a spite level. Let's see if we can get it now. Yeah, see? Okay, and now we get to one of my first gripes with the game. But I'll talk about that maybe when I talk about bugs at the end. So, we've talked about the combat mechanics. So, I guess the next thing, if I separated difficulty into combat difficulty and platforming difficulty, then I'll separate the mechanics into combat mechanics and platforming mechanics. I think that's fair. And here, I don't think much of you will be pleasantly surprised. So, the traversal, the platforming mechanics are very, very basic. Irma can run, she can jump, she can grab the walls and climb the walls, which is actually infinite. She does not have 2 grabs and that's it. She can do it ad infinitum. Ad infinity. So ad infinitum, I guess, would be the proper thing to say in Latin. And you can scale quite large walls like that. Oh, also one more mechanic. You can revive statues if you found them. Clay statues, when you find them. Forgot to say that in the combat section. But yeah, now the platforming section. So that's... That's what you can do in the basic platforming stuff, when it comes to basic platforming stuff. But those who played Metroidvanias would probably ask, wait a second, but isn't one of the staple of a Metroidvania the fact that the castle, or the area that we need to traverse, has frequently locked off areas for us that we need to acquire special powers to get to? Well, it sort of is like that, and sort of isn't like that here. To not spoil anything, we only get access... Oh, sorry about that, there's a fly flying here. We get access throughout the game to 2 of those powers, and I would only call one of them a traversal power, a platforming power. The other one not so much, even though thanks to it we can get to new areas. I would not call it a power per se. So there's another thing that fans of the genre may not be quite keen on, and I gotta say, I also expected better from this. Throughout the whole gameplay, and I did play this blind, I was sort of waiting for, when do I get my next power? When do I get my next power up? Do I have this? Do I have that? No, actually we don't get many of them. Unfortunately, we don't get many of them. And that's kinda sad, as those powers were always the thing I was waiting for in Metroidvania games. I was always waiting for the next boss to give me the next power. And I always wondered what that power will be, what kind of a cool thing I could do now, and would let me find more places. What would it be? So, you know, not the thing here, unfortunately. And this also means that the platforming elements need to be a little bit easier because of that. I mean, well, like I said previously, I compared it to Hollow Knight's platforming, which was kind of hard in some cases, where you needed to be on time with your jumps or with your slashes to bounce off some elements of the environment, and you did have quite long platforming sections. I remember one section where you needed to bounce off spikes through a level filled with spikes on the floor, and it had enemies to snipe you. It had, I think, moving platforms somewhere and stuff like that. It was quite challenging. It wasn't hard or impossible, but it was challenging. There are nothing. I don't think there's anything like that here. I don't recall it. The most we get are gaps that we can't traverse at once, at first, but then we get a power-up that enables us to basically traverse them. And the only thing that we need to do is to actually pick a moment when to jump. And we're good. There's no pixel perfect stuff, there's no bouncing, nothing like that. So yeah, like I said, platforming difficulty is lower on this one, but it's not that bad. Some people do not like those elements and have trouble with them, like I said, so maybe this is for you. But for me this kinda a little bit diminishes the game a little bit, because I don't think you get much how do I put it, happiness by being able to get to the next area, to uncover a next area, or uncover a biome. They are not only that they are the same-ish monochrome looking, you also don't get a sense of satisfaction while getting to them. So yeah, that's one thing. Also, sorry for that, as I actually remembered I haven't talked about one thing when we were in the story section. And I finished the mechanics section, so I will allow myself to go back for a moment. I have also some gripes with the story section. Aside from the trickling the information and then doing a large exposition telling you basically everything, and the other things you can think about on your own, and you hear the most of the exposition. So the other thing is, I have trouble with Irma's character, because Irma frequently contradicts herself. Here, I just had the notion when I was playing, because at first she basically says some things, she talks to NPCs, talks about stuff and events that happened in the past, and you're listening going, oh yeah, interesting, maybe they'll say something more. That's at the beginning. Then, about one third in, or something like that, when you talk to certain NPCs, Irma says that she can't remember stuff. She suddenly can't remember some stuff, some events, something. But then later, a bit later, when you talk to those same NPCs, she suddenly remembers the events. And that kind of caught me off guard. It really did. It was a bit strange of writing. I clearly remember one NPC that we talked to was talking about stuff that happened in the past, and Irma said that she can't recollect that. But when he said something to her that she did in the past to him, and that he either remembers that or can't forgive her, something like that, suddenly Irma said that she knows she would do that again and she has no regrets. But about a couple of sentences before, she said she didn't recall much of what happened then. So that was pretty weird, if you ask me. So yeah, that's my gripe with the story. So I wanted to get back to that, to talk about it. As I would like to present the section, present the mechanics, and present my thoughts of the reviewers and my gripes with the section. So we got through story, we got through mechanics. Let me check the recording time. Whoa, quite long, but this will be a longer episode, I have a feeling. So, well, yeah, this is it. Sound. We should go to the sound department now. As you can see, or maybe hear, we got a problem here. It was quite low, so it's quite mild throughout the Let's Play. So, yeah, but even if it wasn't, I don't recall, because I am on my headphones, I can hear it a bit better than you on the compressed YouTube video after that, and me talking over the soundtrack. I don't recall any memorable sounds, any memorable themes. It's okay. The music is how can I say it? It works. It fits the theme. It works, but it's not memorable. You won't have any banger sounds like in Ender Lilies. When I played Ender Lilies, a similar Metroidvania game, one of the themes, or maybe two, I think, were themes that I frequently later listened to during work, because they were nice. They had those nice ambient rain sounds. They had that glorious piano music, and they were quite memorable. Well, I as for the other sounds, the ambient sounds, likewise, can't seem to recall many. Whereas, for example, Hollow Knight, I played 2 or 3 years ago, I can recall so many sounds from that. So many sounds, so many ambient sounds. The sounds that the dwellers of the world made instead of talking. The sounds that the world made, like rain, water droplets, etc. I can recall them. I remember them. I remember that they were in the game. I can recall some themes from Castlevania games I played, from Symphony of the Night, which I haven't played in 8 or 10 years, I think. But this game, nope, sorry, I can't seem to. I can't seem to recall nothing of that. So, even though the sounds fit, you won't have any soundtrack from game running after you beat it in your headphones, sort of a vibe. Well, I don't think it's that particularly bad. I mean, it definitely is a part of the experience in those type of games, but as long as it's not a soundtrack that's kinda in your face and you can't stand it while playing, and you need to go down with the sound to not irritate you while having a longer play session, then it's okay. If it's a sound that's not memorable, but fits the game, the theme, the area, then it's okay. It's okay. Maybe it's not a banger, but it works. It's quite a shame, as I think that Sound is actually a very important thing in Metroidvania style games, because we'll take for example Hollow Knight again. There were a lot of times in Hollow Knight where I felt lost. I traversed the same areas back and forth, looking for an upgrade, looking for another boss battle, for another nook and cranny where I didn't go through, and maybe this part that has the Fog of War, maybe now I can go through it, maybe now when I have this ability I can go further, but I couldn't, and I needed to go back an area, 2 areas, go back to the beginning to check. It was quite frequent, and I didn't feel bored. I felt immersed in the world. I loved the sounds there, and it kept me interested while playing. Here, after a longer session, I was like, yep, we need to try this another day. So this definitely doesn't help the longer sessions. Okay, so that's sound. We got through story, got through mechanics, we got through sound. Now let's go maybe to problems, to bugs. And here I am quite optimistic. Aside from a few, which I'll mention in a moment, I didn't have any bugs. Nothing game crashing, nothing, no freezes, no crashes, no Irma falling through the floor, getting outside of the boundaries of the world, nothing like that. So kudos, because the game world works, and it does not break. But there are 2 bugs that I would like to talk about, and they are frequent bugs. But also, I think I maybe know why, but I need to ask some of you with the Steam version, because this is the GOG version that I have. And the first bug, maybe you'll see it now, is the spite menu. You can see the spite menu flashing above, telling me, hey, push the button, pick a spite bonus. See? I am pushing the button. Sometimes it works, sometimes like this, sometimes it flashes. It opens and closes. Now it doesn't wanna. Oh, yeah. I'm pushing it once. I'm not tapping it, I'm not pushing it frequently, I'm just pushing once. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, like this. And that's one of the frequent bugs that I encountered. The other one is with the prompts. You could have saw that right now. There was a prompt, but I am playing the gamepad, and the prompt should be for the gamepad controls. Yet, a couple of minutes backwards on the video, you could have seen that there was a push tab button here. And that's quite frequent when the game is not sure which control scheme I am using, and frequently changes between the PC prompts and the gamepad prompts. And yeah, those are the 2 bugs that I encountered, the only 2 bugs that I encountered, and they're not game breaking. One of them is irritating, the spite menu bug, because during fights, if you wanna pick a spite bonus, you get a flashing menu on your screen, and you're sometimes kinda baffled by it and surprised, and you die. Also, can I? Yeah, see? Oh, I can even show you now. Now, I pushed one button, I'll push L1 or R1, see? You can see prompts changing. And when you see the first, you rewind a couple of seconds, when I entered this menu on the map, yeah, oh, now I got it. If I push the R1 enough times, see, it switched the prompts to the PC prompts. You can see 1, 2 and X instead of and WSD instead of the usual prompts, like here. Now I pushed R1 again, sorry, and I have L2, R2, triangle, the D-pad. Something's not right. Something's not right with the controller support. And like I said at the beginning of this section, I maybe know why. And this is a question to the Steam users. I suspect that the Steam version does not have that, because I read somewhere that Steam gives the developers the option to use a Steam API or a Steam interface for a working controller support made by the Steam platform, Steam guys. Whereas on GOG, you do not have that API, and the controller support and the support for prompt changing and etc. It's the devs' work to do that. This is not 100% sure information. I've read that somewhere. I've read that in a couple of places when I was looking for fixes to some other games' controller problems I played during... I played on the channel. I think it was Momodora? Or something like that. That the controller was not usable. Yeah, so I have a suspicion that the Steam version maybe does not have those problems. But you would need to ask someone who has it on Steam. Unfortunately, on GOG, those bugs are present and frequent, but no game-breaking bugs here, so that's a plus. And let me check my notes. We talked about the gameplay, we talked about the mechanics, the sound department, the bugs. So maybe a little bit what I think. Maybe we'll get to the coup de grace, the creme de la creme of the review. My thoughts on the game. So, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about the review is that this game has an identity crisis, if you ask me. And I'll tell you why. Because this game, judging by some descriptions on some platforms or sites, this game should have been a Metroidvania style game with Souls-like or roguelite elements, depending on where you read the description. But for me, it's neither fully. Because, like I said, the Metroidvania elements are quite basic. Quite basic. Basic platforming, basic fighting. Nothing hard, nothing long, nothing out of the ordinary. Just basic stuff. Jump here, slash that, you're done. The Souls-like or roguelite elements, not much of them. Like I said, there's disregarding the amulet stones, because you can equip those that do not break after dying. You only have the spite menu. And in contrast to what most reviewers said, it does not matter. I mean, when you look at those bonuses, crit chance plus 10%, spell cost return chance plus 20%, witchery cost minus 10%, healing power, you can do without them. They're not that detrimental of bonuses. Not having spite bonuses won't make you fail a boss fight. The only powerful spite bonus is the cure one, the healing power plus 25%. That's the strongest one you can get, in my opinion. The others, well, you can spam a little less witchery. You do less crits, but if you are playing bad, having 10% more crit chance won't make or break your boss battle or your encounter. It's negligible. So that's why I don't agree with that being a spike in difficulty, something that makes the game much harder, because the bonuses aren't that great. So, and that's the only roguelite element. It's not like, for example, Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a roguelite or roguelike game for me, because in Dead Cells, when you're deep in a run, you fail, you die, you go back to the beginning. Not here. Here we have checkpoints, save points. This is a more Metroidvania than it is a Souls-like roguelike. So yeah. And the difficulty, like I said frequently here, it's not that bad. So I don't get the part of those reviews and articles talking about that. Aside from options, as you can see, well, we have a large skill tree, we have some weapons to pick, etc. But, like I said, there are clearly favorites, like in the special weapons, and even in spells, like this one. I could go through the whole game only with the chain boulder. Only with the chain boulder. The only thing that I would get besides the chain boulder would be this, as this is a prerequisite for the chain boulder. And this, because the chain boulder does not break those glowing walls. And that's it. I could go through the whole game with the chain boulder, not using special weapons, not using the charge attacks, only doing basic slashes and the boulder. And I don't think that bodes well. Other thing that the reviewers have problem with, the glands. They said that the glands are scarce. But as you saw, maybe, watching me play, I did not use glands. I basically did one clay right, because I wanted to see how it works. I did maybe 1 or 2 weapon rights, because I wanted to switch a weapon, and I only did 1 moon right, because I thought I could see something else if the moon changes. And there is that. There is a collection element, collecting exquisite necklaces, which can only be done when the moon is I think it's ravenous or something like that. The game tells you. And other than that, nope. I did not use glands. I didn't feel the need to. It gives more bomb powder drop, more ichor, more gland. But it was not needed. It was not needed. I did not need it. I, as you can see, have a lot of spells learned. Only a few of them are... This whole thing here is learned. The only ones that I didn't learn are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of all of them. And I did not use any rights. So I also do not get the problem that Nintendo World Report had. Scarcity of glands does not have any effect on the game's difficulty. I'm sorry to say, I don't agree with that. So yeah. That's what I think. And going on how I would rate the game, I would rate it a 6, at most 6 out of 10, or maybe a solid 5 out of 10. And I was asked by a friend, what would I do to improve upon the game? And honestly, nothing. There is nothing you can improve. This is a solid game, this is a mediocre title, and it's not bad. Mediocrity is not bad. It's a good game. It took me 9 hours to complete, because I looked in every nook and cranny, I tried to find secrets, I slid on walls, I slid on elevator shafts, tried everything. 9 hours, and it was completed, and it was not bad. I did not feel engulfed in the world, waiting for the next adventure, waiting to jump back into the world like I felt during Hollow Knight plays. I did not feel that here. But it's not bad. It's nothing bad that I didn't feel that here. This is a solid a mediocre adventure. It's a good one. I played it. I didn't feel like I was playing like someone made me play it and oh my god, I started a video and I must finish it. I did not feel like that. But I didn't feel like I played some games here on the channel, like when I did one episode and I was like, geez, I need to do another one, I want to play more. Maybe I should play off camera, but I can't do that. I started an episode, I want to show you guys. No, there was nothing here like that. And it's not bad. I honestly think it's not bad. I think that medium 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 games are okay. There are also titles that are needed, that are good. And yeah, if you are interested in that, I would wait for a sale, as I think it was quite frequently on sale. Can't recall. I think I got it on sale. And yeah, that's all I can think of. Sorry for the loose structure. I was talking about some stuff and forgot during the talking, and during a later stage I remembered I wanted to talk about something. So yeah, I will try to get better in the future reviews. And what to say more about Moonscars? It's an okay game. Mediocre title, nothing bad with it. And like I said at the beginning, please remember, we have different tastes and different experiences. For me, it's a 5 out of 10 game. For you, it could be an 8 out of 10 game. But it could also be a 2 out of 10 game. Yes. And that's cool. I think that it's respectable, and I think it's actually good that we have different tastes and can converse about them. That's what gaming is about, you know? So, thank you guys for watching. I do have the next series planned, and it should soon come rolling in. So, can't wait to show you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, and take care. Thank you all.